this episode of the Naturist Living Show, Naked as Created.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show is brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. At Bare Oaks, we offer traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Free your body, free your mind. www.bareoaks.ca.
Welcome, dear listener. My name is Stéphane Deschênes, and I'm your host for the podcast and the owner of Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. And before we get started with today's episode, I want to turn it over to Jessica, who's going to tell us about the wonderful people who are supporting us through Patreon.
Hello, new and dedicated listeners of the Naturist Living Show. This is Jessica here, thanking everyone for checking us out and continuing to listen. So this is normally the part where, just as Samantha would, I would thank the Patreon subscribers and new subscribers. In going to do so, I realized that Patreon has canceled our account and terminated the Naturist Living Show account on Patreon because apparently we have broken some rules. Those rules being, apparently because we talk about children in naturism, that has quote-unquote violated one of their policies. So this is something that we deal with constantly in naturism, is the fight to inform, and really just share the beauty of naturism and how it is not only safe, but safer than most public places. And there's a lot of research that a lot of people do that we talk about. There's some really great podcasts, specifically Children in Naturism. We have a lot of information on the website. So anyone listening, thank you very much for continuing to follow along with the naturism story and the Naturist Living Show. And we are definitely looking for another platform. We're not going to fight with Patreon. We're done. Stay tuned. I have a lot more podcasts to pump out. So you'll see a fun little blitz of some new content moving forward. Okay, enjoy the show.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you to all those folks who are supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate it. So you've heard Tim Chizmar on this show a number of times. He's done a lot of interviews for us. And as you probably know, if you've been listening for a long time, he is a filmmaker, as well as a comedian and very involved in the entertainment industry. So he has a new film out, or just about. The film is mostly done. When we are recording this, he hasn't published it yet. It hasn't been released, that is, and it's called Naked as Created, and it is a Christian film funded by Christian Naturist that tried to reconcile naturism and Christianity and try to tell an interesting story at the same time. Of course, it's a small, low-budget film, as most naturist films are. And I was privileged to have a chance to interview several members of the crew and cast to talk about the film and what it meant for them and what it took to get it done.
Hey, it's me, it's him, it's T. I am Tim Chizmar once again at the Naturist Living Show, my favorite podcast in the world. We're talking about Naked as Created, the Pastor Jim Moore story. I am a producer, I am a casting director, I am a co-writer, and I acted in the movie.
Okay. And just go, not in any particular order, but going along by the way I see the windows. Melody?
Hello, it's Melody Munson. I was the art director for Naked as Created. I've been working with Tim for years, and we've always, I think, worked really well together and done great stuff together, and that's it.
Oh, no,
All
no,
right.
no, that's not it. You act in this movie quite a bit.
I also do act
Thank you,
in this
Tim.
movie. I'm actually like a couple of roles because of extra problems. You'll see me in a bunch of different hats in the background,
Okay.
and I have one speaking role.
Lovely. Oh, looks like Lovely's frozen.
It looks like he's frozen.
Okay. Chris.
Yeah, hi, my name is Chris. I play Jim Moore, the main character in the film.
Dan.
Yeah, I am Dan Hawkins. I play D.H. Manila, the newspaper editor and one of the general antagonists of the movie.
And Jim.
And I am Jim Moore, the focus of the Naked is Created, the Pastor Jim Moore story. So Chris and I got to meet in the movie, and it was weird because I was meeting myself, so it was kind of strange. But and excited to be on your stuff, Stefan. Listen to your show all the time, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. Wow. I'm flattered. Okay, we've lost three people now. I'm not sure what's going on.
I've just got a text from Kate Lane, who was on our chat here, but they're having a snowstorm. She lives way on the East Coast by Massachusetts, and so she thinks that may have knocked her off our call. So Lovely got frozen and knocked off, and Kate Lane is going through a snowstorm, but they will join us if they can. Hopefully that's Lovely hopping on right now.
I'm back.
Okay, Lovely. Do you want to jump in?
Hi, I'm Lovely Jones, and I am an extra in the movie.
You don't not even a character name?
I'm a performer.
Extra. You had lines.
You
Yeah,
have lines.
I have an extra. I'm an extra. I'm a speaking extra.
All right. Well, why don't we start then with Tim? Why don't you tell us what is the premise of this movie? Why was it made? What's it about?
Sure. So Pastor Jim and I became friends, and we started collaborating on his father's book series. He has kind of a Jack Reacher for Christians, which is like an action adventure series, One-Time Messengers. And we worked on putting together a Rippermatic to hopefully sell it as a concept for a movie series. And in that process, the fact that he in real life is a nudist pastor and does nude weddings, nude baptisms, naked ministry buyouts at resorts like Star Ranch in Texas and Cypress Cove in Florida. We started talking about how his life is so unique and different, and we felt that it would be a wonderful idea to put together as a movie. So he and I, and ultimately two other writers, because when you adapt somebody's real life, and Jim can speak to this, when you adapt their real life to fiction, you have to heighten certain areas, you have to combine composite characters, etc. And it's not the easiest thing in the world. So we brought on board the director of the movie, Mark Savage, and his buddy to kind of help us land that plane. And the four of us put together a pretty darn good screenplay. And from there, it was about raising funding. But Jim, what would you say about the early days in this movie?
Well, the early days of meeting Tim, I mean, Tim and I kind of connected online based on his work at Close Free and my work in the Christian naturist community and trying to put together, a group where Christians could gather and not be ashamed to be a Christian and a naturist at the same time. And through collaboration on my dad's work, he was like, man, we really need to make your life story, a movie as well as your dad's books. And it kind of snowballed from there because, it's full of drama. I don't know all that much action, but lots of drama when you're a Christian and outed as a Christian and a naturist. Of course, all the accusations that go along with that. It's never just, oh, you like to be as God created people. It's always, oh, you're one of those perverts. And so that process kind of led to a lot of drama in our life. But ultimately, my wife and I like to say that ended up being one of the biggest blessings in our life, because the freedom that comes with being outed, if you will, is that we just don't care what anybody thinks anymore. We do what God wants. And the freedom that has come from that, best thing that ever happened to us. We're really glad to have been outed, so to speak, on this side of it.
So you don't just play one on TV, as the joke goes, right?
That's right. That's great. And boy, I'll tell you what, it's been a lot of fun. Preaching as God intended, naked and not ashamed, being able to do weddings, being able to do communion services, baptismal services. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great journey.
So Christianity and naturism, of course, that's always somewhat controversial because people don't always understand what it's about. Are you expecting, or have you already had controversy, pushback? I don't know, even attack?
Well, Stefan, you're going to have to watch the movie, man.
No, I mean in creating the movie, not in. I'm not talking about the plot itself.
Okay, yeah. You know what? We haven't yet, but Tim and I actually hope to. One of the things that is our desire is that we want some negative feedback. I would love to have a debate with any outspoken Christian that wants to take me on, because the facts are in our favor, and one of the thrilling things with having Chris play me in the movie is that he's pretty much a Bible scholar on this subject as well. And so, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm getting all kinds of recording track ended, so...
Are you getting it?
I got as well.
It's just telling me that Lovely's recording has ended, but everything else I think is still working. I'm just getting a lovely...
so a lovely error, huh?
A lovely error, yes. We'll see how it goes there, Lovely, maybe...
Yeah, no. So we're hoping to get some feedback. I'd love a debate, whether that is in the pulpit somewhere or in a movie theater somewhere. If we could do a show, Tim, why don't you speak to what we hope to do here?
Well, in prematurely, I do want to say that there's a large film distribution conglomerate called AFM, the American Film Market. And not this most recent one, but the one before that was in Las Vegas. And I took it upon myself to represent our LLC, Genesis 225, and I pitched it to a very large Christian production company. And they said no, obviously, at first. But then I had some people in the Hollywood community vouch for me and vouch for what we were doing. And upon that, we were able to sign a right of first refusal. We had a 3-picture deal with a really large Christian production company in the event that we could have done 3 nudist Christian movies last year. And so that was very encouraging. So I'll tell you this, there's a lot of people in the film community who they're always afraid to do something new outside of the box, but they have eyes on us. So they have optics and they're watching to see what happens. And if our film is successful and garners attention, and especially because it's worldwide. So the thing that, Jim and Stefan, yourself, you've interacted in France and all over the world, the attitudes towards body positivity in Germany, France, places, Spain, is much different than it is here in the United States. And so if the film can garner attention, awards overseas, then it can come into America with an attitude of, this is accepted outside in the rest of the world, so you guys are behind the times. Get with it. And that's sort of the attitude that some of the people have taken when we've discussed this with them.
Cool.
And Stefan, we also have dreams of being able to go and parlay this film into, we might as well do one on King David. We might as well do one on King Saul. We could do one on Jesus, with Jesus and the life of Christ, his baptism. Almost all the major events in the Old and New Testament display some sort. The Levites prophesied. They had to take their mikveh in public. The prophets prophesied in the nude. So Isaiah was commanded to go nude for 3 years. And just in case you wonder how nude, it was naked and barefoot, so that you didn't know. Well, he had underwear on. Okay, yeah, sure. That's why they included barefoot. So we'd love to parlay this into a bunch of Christian films, whether short films, long films, movies, doesn't really matter, showing the truth of God's word on the subject, which most people just don't even want to study. They don't want to talk about.
We have another actress trying to get into the room right now, Stefan. I don't know if you have to accept them or just letting you know.
I haven't received a notification yet.
Anyway, Rachael Moore, Jim's actual daughter in real life, ended up, I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn. We have like kind of a lineage of things that happened. But once we got past the screenplay and the pre-production stage and being able to put together the funding and we started filming, we had to put up with fires. The Eaton fires broke out in
Right.
California,
California,
which
yeah.
was horrible. We were 2 days into filming before this giant disaster, hellfire is what I refer to it, because it was like literally pushed back from Satan for us to shoot this movie.
Some people might say it was a sign from God, though, that he didn't want you to do
Yeah.
it.
Oh, that's the wrong God. that's the red pointy-headed God.
Well, the thing
no.
was, there were so many obstacles, but there wasn't a killer. There wasn't anything that we couldn't overcome.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
they were little obstacles. You know, we just came together and just overcame them.
Trials and tribulations. But what I wanted to point out was everybody was cast in their roles depending on this schedule of where we were going to film. So, for example, we had Arroyo del Sol in. You can't get more Eaton than we were literally in the heart of the fires. We were going to be recording at that resort, that nudist bed and breakfast, and then we had sound stages, etc. We had gotten 2 days filming at a soundstage called Four Heart Studio in Sylmar when the fires erupted and when all of this disaster started. And our lead actress, who was going to be played by Sarah Woodson, which if you're familiar in the nudist community, she's the woman who's been fighting for custody of her son that she took to a nudist resort. And so her case is setting precedents in that state for laws regarding families and kids and nudist resorts. So it's always important to me. I never want nudist films to be a gimmick. I hate the fact that like when J.P. Riley talked about, what's the name of his movie, guys? Dan? The one that was shot at Olivedale?
Act Naturally.
Act Naturally. So whenever he
yeah.
would talk about Act Naturally and he said it was a nudist film, when you talk to the actors, none of them say they're nudists. They always say, "Oh, I just acted in a nude movie. Oh, I want my films to have the kind of nudist that you would run into at a nude resort, at a nude beach, at a hot springs, on a hiking trail. I want it to be authentic and real." And so I put Sarah in the role of Jim in the movie, his wife, and she has an accent and she looks great on camera and she was fun and ready for it. But the fires caused soot in her lungs and all this disaster where she had low CO2 oxygen levels and we had to remove her. And where are you going to get somebody to replace at the last minute? And speaking of the last minute, we just had the actress who jumped in joining the call right now. We have Rachael Moore on the line. Hello, Rachael.
Hey guys. Hey.
Hey, Rachel.
Sorry, I had to play around with some of the settings.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Hi, Rachel. Welcome to the show. I'm not sure why the thing auto muted me there, but it did. All right, so
with very little notice. Rachel, can you talk to that? Like, what was that process like for you to come on board last minute?
Oh my goodness, it was a little bit of a stressful situation because we had already been talking about all the fires in California and praying for everyone that was already there. And I got a call from my dad and he's like, "Hey, so we might need you. We need a replacement actress and you have 30 minutes to make a decision about whether or not you can do this." So there was no just, sleep on it. It was pray, call dad back, and then literally stayed up all night long to pack up me and my grandma and fly to California.
So for the actors in the movie, were you all naturists before, or was this new for anybody?
I've been a naturist since, this is Chris speaking, I've been a naturist since 2012. We shot the film in 2025, so I had been a naturist for 13 years by that time.
Yeah, and Tim and I had been naturists for 25 years, at the very least, something like that.
Melody, you're muted, hon.
there. Oh, there. Oh, I thought everyone was just being hella rude to me. No, well, I've done nudist content with Tim. I didn't identify that way, but actually, after the fires, when we had to go to the because what was it called? Something Del Sol.
Shangri-La?
It wasn't.
No, Shangri-La.
Shangri-La. No, that was Shangri-La.
But
Shangri-La
like before,
in
it was
Arizona.
like an Airbnb. Like I was being naked around like my friends. Like, but at Shangri-La, where it like, and I actually like saw like the full like community that the nudists have, like the full like community of like naturists. Like that really that. So I used to be uncomfortable with with like a label of like putting like labeling myself as like a nudist or a naturist, and now I embrace that label because like I like that, like I maybe the fires were they were one of the worst things that ever happened to my family, like but like moving like seeing it, like seeing like the full nudist community like really did sway a lot of my opinions on how I feel like I identify myself as a naturist.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to be open about naturist, which a lot of people are not, but that's great, and being public about it. But then to act in a movie, you're really putting yourself out there. Was that a challenge for anyone, career-wise? Anybody concerned about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, the first this was before I like accepted the naturist label. Like, Tim asked me to do a bit on a show called Naked and Not Afraid. Mm-hmm. And that was a stand-up comedy, and I've never performed stand-up comedy in public before. And granted, I didn't have to write my own bit. That was written by someone named Kevin. Last name, I'm sorry, I don't remember. Tim, but
Kevin LaHaye. He's the co-writer of Naked Alien Massacre.
Yes. Kevin LaHaye. And so I was being naked in front of people for the first time, like a public, like an audience for the first time. I was performing stand-up also at the same time, and also it's being recorded. Like, yeah, I was scared fucking shitless. I was terrified, but I did it anyway, and it was a great experience.
You did a great job too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Who has the most acting experience in other than this?
I mean, I did some student films in the early 2000s, and then when I got cast for this part, I did another student film just to get my feet wet, and then went to California and did this movie, and I enjoyed it. So now I'm trying to get back into acting. I'm actually taking a workshop at a Fort Worth Actors Studio, and because there's a lot of film production here. Taylor Sheridan's making all kinds of TV shows here, Landman and Lioness and a bunch of shows. So I'm going to try to pick up some gigs there. But I guess Dan's
a writer as well. And so he has a screenplay he's put together, maybe inspired by having done Naked Alien Massacre with me, but he's adapted his work into a screenplay. So he's already getting involved in the film industry.
Yeah. And I've got 5 novels out now. My 5th one just came out last month. It's a science fiction novel. The one before that was a psychological thriller called The Tattoo Collector. But I've been a nude art model since 1984. I went to a nudist resort for the first time in 1985. So I've got like 40 years of doing this. And I never was public about it until 25 years ago, 2001. I went on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, put on my card I was a nude model, and when I got the hot seat, which wasn't a sure thing, I figured, I've got a 33% chance of getting into the hot seat, and then I did. And that's all Regis wanted to talk about was my nude modeling job. And, he made it funny. So,
so if I haven't seen the movie yet, Tim sent me the screener, and I really want to look at it, but I haven't seen it, so I'm not talking from experience. But if I understand right, Chris and Rachel, you are basically the main, the lead actors in this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how was that?
It was a lot of fun.
Did you have a lot of background doing acting before?
No, I was on the drama team in high school at church. I was homeschooled my whole life, so I didn't have like a drama thing in school. So it was through the church, and I did like two or three stage things in high school, and then after that, for context, I'm 30 now, so it's been a while since I've done anything official. And then bada bing, bada boom, I end up acting as the main character in a feature film handpicked by Tim and Jim. So hopefully I did a good job.
And
Yeah,
Rachel?
same with me. I haven't done any acting. I did a few plays in my church when I was younger, and that's been years. And I'm not a full-time naturist either, so getting the phone call that they wanted me to be one of the main actresses and play my mother as a naturist, it was getting thrown into the deep end, but it was a lot of fun, and everyone there was cool. It was easy once you got there and got to meet the crew and the chemistry. Like, we all worked so good together, and everyone was comfortable. So I didn't feel it was awkward at all.
So this making a movie is not something you do in half an hour or in an afternoon, especially. How long does a movie run, Tim?
Around 90 minutes.
it's-
You know,
yeah,
we
it's-
want to stay within, yeah, so it doesn't burn itself out. That's a good runtime nowadays with the audience, the TikTok generation. People, you don't want to drag them out too long.
So a 90-minute movie, that's fairly
Like,
typical. How
Fucking
long did it take to?
movies these days are like 2.5 hours long, 3 hours long. Like, and like that's I don't know. Maybe I'm part of the TikTok generation, but that's annoying.
Yeah, there are a
Yeah,
lot of very long
yeah.
movies these days, or TV shows that are really 3-hour movies that are broken up in 3 or 4 episodes. How long? What was the process? How long did it take, Tim, once you had the money to put all this together? Because a lot of our listeners don't have no idea what it takes to make a movie.
Well, we went to the followers and the congregation, the people who are involved in the events, which are also called Naked as Created. So we had a different name at the beginning. I believe it was called Naked and Not Ashamed, as God intended. So that's the name that we ran with through most of production. But Jim does these events that are called Naked as Created. So in post production, we decided that was a better, catchier name for this. And we went to that congregation to raise the funding for it. And ultimately, we had, who felt that it really needed to be told and stepped up above and beyond, raising it from so many people. It ended up we raised money from everybody, but one person took on the bulk of being able to represent the movie, and then he even plays a part in the film. So he came out for a lot of the shoot, and I'll tell you, just like forging a sword in fire, the literal fires that were burning homes and costing people lives and all of this really brought out the best as far as integrity of our team, coming together, bonding, being there for everything that we had to put up with, cars getting smashed and needing to. We had to turn hotel rooms into hospital rooms in the movie. We were losing sets and stages, and for example, we needed a nudist resort area, and it's not easy to shoot at nudist resorts because people may have their favorite resort, but it doesn't mean they're going to invite cameras to come and film. So, like for example, being in Southern California, the Glen Eden Sun Club announced to all nudists that if you're displaced from the fire, come to our resort. Well, they're the first people we talked to, and we said, we're filming a nudist movie. We're displaced from the fire. Can we please film at your resort respectfully, and we'll let you know where we're going to be? And they said no. So thank goodness the people who did say yes to us was Shangri-La in Arizona, New River, Arizona. So Cindy Tendick and Patty, they're the ones who allowed us on no notice. I mean, a day's notice. We drove, I think it was 6 hours. The team drove to their resort to get the resort footage that we needed for the movie on time, to then circle back to Southern California to get church shots in the cathedral, etc. So, I noticed that, Lovely, you haven't been speaking much, so I want to give you an opportunity. You jumped in. This was your first time in a feature film, but you and I met at Shangri-La, and you had been a resident there before, a visitor. So talk a little bit about yourself, your experience, you hopping on board. What was this like for you, Lovely?
Sure. It was an amazing experience that I didn't expect to have. I feel like I met you, Tim, at Shangri-La maybe a couple of months, I think, before you started shooting. And I've been a naturist. Like Melody said, I didn't really identify that way. I didn't have a problem being around people, but the first time I actually went to a resort was probably in my early 30s. So like you said, Tim, I was at Shangri-La so often people thought that I lived there. And you texted me, you said, "Hey, we're filming this movie and we got displaced by the fires. You want to come by and be an extra?" And I said, "Sure, I'll come by and be an extra." And I ended up with a speaking role, which was I don't have any acting experience. I didn't even do a school play. But once I say I'm doing something, I'm going to give my best to it. So I didn't want to make you look bad either because you gave me that opportunity. So it was really interesting to see how films are made and to watch it all come together. And
Sorry, we've lost Lovely. Looks like there's
She looks frozen on my end.
I keep getting warnings that her connection is unstable, her internet connection. Oh, there you are.
So, much to my disappointment and my deepest apologies, Lovely, but unfortunately the program did not pick up that section of your answer. I tried recovering the file, but this is a new program that I am just getting familiar with. So, I'm just going to pick it up where Tim left off. But we will get there.
We'll get there. But yes, we've done a few screenings of this movie, and I mean we're all over the place, Stefan. But we made it through the production. We've had some screenings, and by goodness, out of the thousands of films that are reviewed from FilmThreat.com, our movie was nominated in 2 categories. One was WTF, and the other was low budget indie. And we won for low budget indie film. Out of all the thousands of movies that they review, Naked as Created, the Pastor Jim Moore story, won. I was going to hold up the award here, but I mean, I know you're not recording the picture anyway, right. But here, we won this. And you know what? If you watch the video on YouTube, you can see the entire ceremony and you can see the acceptance speech. And Melody Munson yelled, "A win for nudists." That's what she said.
That is what I said. Yeah. Also, you said you were going to get copies of that for me. I haven't received it yet.
Yes, it just happened. I'll follow up on the link. Yeah, when you win, you're able to request copies of it for members of your team. So
how many millions of dollars was your budget?
0.1.
More like 150K. It was in that neighborhood. But you know, we did what we had to. We do what we had to do, and we all came together, and we won an award. And more importantly, it's great to win awards. It's great to have screenings, but at the American Film Market, we screened it. Chris Mudwalker, he flew out, him and his lovely wife. This was her first time attending anything film related, and seeing the culture of that, and seeing you on the big screen. And she's putting her toes in the nudist waters a little bit. Chris, what can you speak to that? I don't want to blow past that. Chris?
We did attend the screening in LA, and we had a nice little trip. It was good to get away from the kids. I mean, I love the kids, but every single day, every single night, having an overnight trip just to ourselves, always a good treat for a husband and wife. So we went to the beach and stuff, had a good time, watched the movie. It was fun.
I do remember when the kids were younger, how it was nice to have a break.
Yeah.
So give me some numbers, Tim. How many days of shooting? How many locations? How many sets? Like, how big was this?
Well, it changed over time because we had plans and then we had to scratch those plans, and then we had to involve travel into those plans. I think at the end of the day, I believe we had 12 shooting days. Does that sound right, team?
Sounds about right.
I think it was something like the original plan was 5 days on, 1 day off, 5 days on, 1 day off, 2 days. And then that got smeared a little bit because of travel in Arizona and whatnot. So I believe that was the plan. So we were somewhere around that area. Some of the people who really stepped up, and we lost some people that I wanted to be in the movie because of the fires. They had real emergency issues dealing with their life, like Juliana Acosta, who I love working with, who I worked with in The Noodles of Noodlin and Naked Alien Massacre, but she wasn't able to make it. Jeremiah Benjamin wasn't able to make it. We had to swap around some people last minute, add additional. Our editor plays a role in the movie. Adorably enough, some members of our production team who are not nudists ended up playing the nudist couple that approach Pastor Jim about the question of nudism that is the impetus for the whole film. And later I kind of felt bad that I had pushed these non-nudists in this "you're the nudist of our story" role. And interestingly enough, since then, Lisa Ann Borain, who is a producing partner of mine, has embraced nudism at Laguna del Sol, where we shot my monster movie, Naked Alien Massacre. So she went from being a non-nudist, never nude, I guess you would call her, to her being buck ass naked in the hot tub with the cast and crew. So it's kind of fun to watch people. It's what Melody was saying. There's one thing to talk about this in theory, and it's another thing to actually see it when you're living it, that we're not just painting some fantasy world, but when you're actually around people who are like-minded, it's like, no, we really live this way.
Jim, this is your story. How difficult was that for you to like? Were they doing it right? Were you always being challenged? Like, what was it like?
It's a tough question because watching an adaptation roll out, knowing that you're going, well, that's not how that isn't and so you're fighting that the whole time, and yet the main goal was to get the story told, is to get a Christian film that is also promoting naturism and this wonderful lifestyle. And so, you have to bite your tongue sometimes and go, you know what, the cause is more important than the story. But the storyline was good also. It's like, that's close, but that's not exactly how it happened.
Give us one of those that's not quite right there, Jim, for the IMDb trivia area.
I was going to say one of the big things was our antagonist, the bad guy. Yeah. So we had to adjust real life into this composite character for the bad guy, which, by the way, team, I did text Pat Jankiewicz about jumping on the call. So bad guy in the movie was played by a really tall, lovingly ogreish kind of Andre the Giant kind of guy, and he was a smarmy bad friend, jealous of Jim's success, just jealous of his wife, jealous of his life, and just kind of undermining him throughout the movie. And it was played to a T by Pat Jankiewicz, a longtime actor. He's been in movies like Fight Club, and he goes way back, and so he was a wonderful addition to our team. And I've been getting texts from Kate Lane, by the way. She wishes it wasn't the snowstorm and all this. Kate Lane did an amazing job. We had a subplot in the movie about this newspaper office, and they were scandalizing the news that this pastor was a nudist. They were trying to find a pervy, schemy kind of angle to sensationalize it. And so there's some interaction at the office, and that involves Dan as the editor, who is not a Christian and not a nudist, and he's kind of twiddling his fingers and his evil mustache about how can he manipulate this story to try to get the most ratings and clicks. And I play a reporter at the office, and Kate Lane, who was my co-host from Naked and Not Afraid, and we've done lots of nude body positive events together, she plays a reporter in the office who's having a real conflict of self in regards to ethics, and is this a bad man, and should I be manipulating this story, and this helps my career, but does it help a good Christian man? And that's part of the drama of the film.
Oh, that's good. Melody, said you were art director. What does an art director do on a movie?
So an art director, basically helps dress the set, make it look pretty, make it look nice, make it look aesthetic. And I know, it's impossible to not bring up the fires, because that was obviously such a big, factor in what we were doing. The set, the place where we had 3 days where we were filming on a soundstage, in Hollywood. So we had the desk set and the restaurant set, and we just had one left, which was the hospital set, and that had a fake IV drip and those little blinky boop boop, those TV things that are on a little metal stand. So I was oh, awesome. So tomorrow's going to be such an easy day. I just have to bring in some of my first aid stuff. I just have to bring in a couple of extra little things to dress this set that already looks like a hospital. And then fires happen. And then it's okay, well, so we can't use that set anymore because the city is burning down. So we have to drive far away and film it at a hotel. And that's one thing that I always I'm dude, it looks like a hotel, and you have to do everything you can within 1 hour to make this hotel room look like a hospital to the best degree you can. And I think I did a good job under those circumstances, but it's not fooling anybody. It looks like a hotel.
Well, plus you had a very minuscule budget, obviously, to work with, right?
Yeah,
How do you find all the props and everything? What'd you get? How'd you get stuff?
Well, that was part of my job. Tim. So I had just gone down to LA, and then because it was early January, so I was just down in LA visiting my family for Christmas. I have family that lives in that lives in the LA County area, and I had just driven back with my girlfriend, and then Tim calls me and is hey, we need an art director for this movie. Can you be in LA in a day and a half? And I'm yeah, that sounds like a good dig, but that sounds like a good gig, but it's a little annoying that it happened right now, but that's fine. And then he told me that you're gonna be so we need these are kind of the general props that we need. We need props for this kind of scene and this kind of scene and this kind of scene. And so I went to Savers, I went to a big Goodwill. I went around to thrift stores and tried to keep it as low budget as possible. Tim told me you have about this amount of money to spend, and I was okay. And so I bought all this stuff for that. The hospital scene, I was kind of oh, well, if we already got the IV drip and all that, there's not too much more you need. I have all my I tried to utilize as much stuff that I already had, and because I used to be a lifeguard, I was yeah, I have CPR masks and band-aids, I have materials to extra sell this thing, what do you need, a water, but then the fires happened, and so then it was you need to make a hotel room look like a hospital. And that was a little tough.
There's other spots as well. We had to turn a garage into part of a person's house. There was a lot. And then there was the question of extras. When we popped in at that Arizona resort, we had to suddenly drop on everybody, hey, who's willing to be in a nudist movie naked in the background, walking around? And so we had to have those conversations as well. There was an interesting scenario where there's been a documentary team following me as I've been moving towards making this nudist monster movie. And so this film was the one before that film. And so we had a documentary team following us. And at one point at this nudist resort in Arizona, the guy didn't realize that it would be a bad idea to use a drone. And so the documentary guy used a drone above filming us, which he thought was okay because he had permission to film us. But you can imagine the freak out at a resort when the general public saw that. They thought it was some pervert, some weirdo trying to get extra footage. And so you got good old boys talking about shooting it down. Jim's showing the gun right there. Like, they were like, I'm going to get out my gun. I'm going to shoot that down. Who is that? Who do they think they can? And so it caused a big ruckus, and the owners had to come out and try to figure out where this drone was coming from and who it is. And when they found out it was part of our team, we had to cool those jets. And he didn't know he was doing anything wrong, and they were super upset. And so, it was just, your best laid plans, right? We have these things laid out, and then things pop up that you didn't expect.
I got to tell you, that's my plan here for if a drone ever comes overhead. I've got the shotgun ready with some buckshot, and I've been told that I might be responsible for damaging it. But I said, okay, fine. Come and ask me for the money. We'll have an interesting conversation.
Sure.
The thing about this movie, for some of it, I'm going to speak for myself, that it wasn't just a movie. I'm a Christian and a nudist. I used to volunteer in my church nursery. They called me the baby whisperer. After I started promoting my second novel, which was a love story between two nude art models, and they go to a nudist resort in the novel, I was promoting it on Facebook. Other people in the church saw it. They came and asked me not to volunteer in the nursery anymore. So this movie, being a Christian nudist movie, meant a lot to me. For that hospital scene, it was my character who was in the hospital bed. And, up till that point, I was the gruff, surly newspaper editor that's out to get this preacher. That hospital room was where my character gets some humanity. So I wanted to nail it. And just seeing that everybody's scrambling. I had my car because I drove out to LA for the project. I got in my car and found a medical supply store. I bought myself a hospital gown. I bought a little O2 reader that goes on your finger just to make it look like I'm a patient in the hospital. And I just went and bought it with my own money, and went back and we shot the scene. And it was, so it's just, I wanted to put that into it, and I think other people on the team came together as well, because this wasn't just a nudist movie. It's one that's going to speak to people who are critical of nudism, and hopefully it'll open some eyes and say, well,
Well, so how hard was it to play the bad guy? Because that's I've heard from some actors it's actually kind of fun to change it up a bit.
It was fun. I was playing a newspaper editor, so Tim told me, think J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man movies, the J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson character. So I did that. I channeled a little bit. They thought I looked too much like a teddy bear with my beard, so I shaved it into this little Fu Manchu mustache. It doesn't compete with your mustache, Stefan, but I had this Fu Manchu mustache to make me look like, it's almost like a frown over my mouth. So it was fun. It was just, acting is becoming another character, and I do that when I write. Like 3 of my novels are written in first person. So I'm like channeling another character when I'm writing those novels. So it's kind of like acting, except with your body, not just on the page. I had a blast doing the movie, like I say, but it was something meaningful to me more than just a movie.
And Chris, for you, how hard was it? Because you're playing Jim, and I assume, Jim, you were there the whole time. So was he really annoying because you just kept saying, you're doing me wrong?
Actually, Jim was a champ. He was so supportive, and there were even times when Jim would come along. He'd put his hand on my shoulder, and he'd say, "Okay, I know the scenes you're doing today. It's really important that you say this thing this way, and I want you to feel this because this is really what I was experiencing at the time." So having the real Jim around was actually a huge comfort to me because, I probably would have gotten all of those things wrong had Jim not been there. But it also helps that I had known Jim almost a year before we ever did the film. I actually went and stayed at Jim's house. I've seen that part of his house where he's sitting right now. I have been very close to that spot. I went and stayed at his ranch with the eclipse that happened. That must have been 2024. Mm-hmm. And I went out and stayed at the ranch, and it was fantastic. We sat around a fire and ate hot dogs and told stories. I heard this story with my own ears before I ever knew there was a film coming. So it was great having him.
And he did a great job, an absolute great job. He portrayed the pain right, but the message right, the fact that naturism and the Bible are not mutually exclusive, that God intended for us to be naked from the beginning. But beyond that, his heart in the movie, playing me, with DH as well as with Kate Lane, because both of those characters accept Christ in the movie. And his job in the scene with Kate Lane in the living room, presenting the gospel of Jesus Christ. When we acted that out for Mark Savage, the director, ahead of time, both Kate and Mark were just amazing, enthralled in what was going on. But then watching Chris perform it in the movie, dude, Tim will tell you, I'm not crying, you're crying. That many times throughout the movie, just watching it. How about it, Tim? Right?
Well, the reactions from the screenings, you don't have to take it from us. I mean, we're a little biased. We made the movie. But when you screen it to an audience, you get gasps and you get reactions and you get people talking to you afterwards. We've screened this movie at Laguna del Sol. We've screened this movie at the the Western Gathering for the Naturist Society. We screened it at a church. And every time we've gotten like when the editor, spoiler alert, the editor accepts Christ and gets baptized, they gasp. There's an audible gasp because Kate Lane had gotten baptized, and so you think that's the baptismal, and we're all naked, so it's a nudist baptism kind of moment. And then what? Him too? Nobody thought he was going to do this, and there's a reaction in the room, which is just lovely. And then the ending with the villain, the moment where him and Jim talk, and he's admitting that he's been a bad friend and a dirty person, and his Jim accepts him anyway and forgives him. That's a scene that gets to me. That chokes me up. There was a lot of decisions we had to make about doing this movie. One of them was this: internally. The director isn't on the call, but he was invited. He wanted to. He has to work. He is a director. He's shooting actors as we are doing this podcast, but he wanted to be here. And I'll say this, in the openness of one of the debates behind the scenes was whether there should be a non-nudist version of this film. So behind the scenes, it got contentious amongst the creative team. Should there be a nudist and a non-nudist version of this film so that it has more opportunity to go out to different platforms? And what Jim and I ultimately decided was the whole point of the movie is for us not to be ashamed of nudity. That's the point of the movie. And so for there to be a version of the movie that's censored and sanitized for the eyes just felt against the principle and the spirit of the movie. And so after a couple of butting heads, that's what we decided, and that's what we went with. And that became a big issue. If you can imagine, think about this for a second. I know, most of us, if not all of us, are nudists on this call, but we are selling, Hollywood claims they want new ideas. We are selling a Christian film with full frontal nudity. Do you think that was an easy job for me? So I'm entering in Melody at AFM. She was with us. It was myself, Lisa Ann Borain, one of the producers, and Melody. We had multiple meetings. We had multiple pitches, and you had all kinds of things where people wanted to change this, adjust that. They wanted to try to push it in some box that it didn't fit in, because yes, they were naked, but it wasn't sexual. Yes, it's Christian, but people are naked. And it was very difficult. We had conversations with Jackrabbit Media, Vision Films, Indie Rights, ITN, Angel Studios, and ultimately, after months of back and forth, I think we're finally happy with the deal that we signed with Motion Picture Exchange, MPX, and their division X4. And they openly and honestly, which is not easy to find within our industry, about how they're going to promote it and how they're going to roll it out. And they're actually doing a film festival in, was it Berlin, Jim? Something overseas?
I believe Berlin was first, yeah.
So they're rolling it out overseas, and they were honest about changing the art. And they were like, "We're going to make it clickbait art. We're going to make sure it's something that entices people to want to click on it and watch it. Are you okay with that?" And we're like, "Yeah, more eyes the better." And Jim and I are not afraid of controversy. We're not going to try to claim this is just your average Christian film, because it's not. And so we want to get that debate and that discussion. We want people to write why. As a matter of fact, one of the people who reviewed the movie, Alan Ing from filmthreat.com, in his he didn't just do a write-up review, he did a video clip that is on the Film Threat channel. And as part of him talking about the film, which he said it's low budget, it's indie, it's a good story, it's one of the best of the year for their budget, blah blah blah. But then he put in his own opinion, being a Christian, and he felt that the Bible doesn't say anything one way or the other in regards to nudity. So he had to make that point, to which Jim challenged him to a debate. He's like, "Well, then let's debate this." And he didn't want to do that, but I saw him at the awards, which we won. And my point is, it does get people thinking. It gets people discussing these things, that it's not that. The thing is, it's like they don't even want to entertain the concept, the idea. And I feel like we're ahead of the curve. I feel like nudist film is going to become a topic, a conversation. There are so many other underrepresented groups that have their opportunities to be seen on film and be seen. Where are the films for the nudists? Where are we? And so I feel like that's strongly what we are drawn towards, and in particular Christian films, with our company Genesis 225 Films.
But that's the challenge. The challenge of what you're talking about with, do you make a version without too much nudity in it? Because that's the big limiter in North American society in particular. And I agree, we shouldn't be ashamed, but I can't show anything on social media, right? If there's any nudity, I can't show it on social media. So that's the challenge, and that we're always fighting. So do you have an MPA rating?
No. Nowadays, that's moot. With streams, it doesn't apply. What is Stranger Things rated? You know what I mean?
No, I don't know.
Streams have kind of made that
So
moot.
this is a streaming-only movie then?
They have a TV-MA rating or whatever. And I don't know, how much do ratings cost? I mean, you got to pay somebody to get a rating.
Right. In the event that you would submit it to get a rating, used to apply when it came to distribution. But nowadays, like the company that acquired our film is, we are on a, is it a 6-year deal, Jim? Do you remember how many years it is?
So it's 6 years.
Yeah.
Renewable, but after 6, but 6.
Yeah, after that, it becomes, if both sides agree, year by year. But they have it for 6 years, and it's going to go on as many streams as they can get it on. And it's doing international. So it will be dubbed in other languages, and there will be physical media. So there'll be Blu-rays and DVDs and done in different languages. So
but the challenge,
it's very exciting.
It is exciting, but the challenge with distribution, it's the same thing you have. If I want to put something on YouTube, and if there's nudity on it, I get an 18 plus, which means YouTube shows it to nobody and it doesn't ever get the views. Surely there must be some rating in the streaming world that they're going to warn people. I think it's a movie that's probably fine. I haven't seen it all, but I'm sure it's probably fine for young people, for teenagers and that kind of stuff. I don't see, certainly the nudity wouldn't be a problem to show it to small children as far as I'm concerned. It wasn't, but the rest of the world has a different opinion. Is that going to limit your distribution? Is that going to limit your audience?
I think from the conversations we've had with them, they're excited about the prospect. They like the controversy, so they're embracing of let's see what happens, and we're all gonna find out together. So Obviously, if Jim and I was to make it available on a website, direct to consumer, our market would be limited. We would have, whatever, 500 people watch the movie, and then that would be it. And we would hope those 500 people would talk to other people. But by teaming up with a real distributor with a real marketing plan behind the scenes, and they even have a budget attached to the deal that they gave us, so they're going to be running with it, and they want to make money too. So they're going to do as much as they can to make a profit off of the film, and we'll see what happens. And there, I can tell you this. One of the distributors that was on the fence about picking up our film is called Jackrabbit Media, and they did a movie called Cannibal Mukbang that got a lot of attention. And anyway, the thing is, they saw us win that award at Film Threat and came up to me, literally the same guy that I spoke to at AFM, and then we were doing joint calls and stuff. He said that he regretted not picking up our film. And so he made it a point that Naked Alien Massacre, the movie I just filmed that's in post-production, he said he wants a screener of that, and he doesn't want to let another Tim Chizmar naked movie slip past them. So he immediately had regret, where at the time they didn't quite know what to do with it and they were afraid of it. Then they saw the reactions and us winning an award, and he came up and directly said, we want to work with you. We want to be in the nudist business.
No, that's my experience. My experience is the fear is always, what will other people think? People always say to me, oh, I'm fine with it, but I don't know how my customers, my audience, my church, my people, whatever, will react to it. And my experience is that most people are okay. They might say it's not for me, but they're not upset, offended, or blocked by it. So, Jim, this is your story. Who should watch this movie? Who's it for?
Well, from a hopeful standpoint, I'm hoping that Christians watch the movie, because I'm wanting to shake them a little bit mentally and say, hey, just because your pastor says something doesn't mean the Bible agrees with your pastor. Just because your religion teaches something doesn't mean the Bible agrees with your religion. So I'm hoping that Christians watch it. But we made it so that anybody can enjoy it. It's almost got a little bit of a Hallmark feel to it. It's a drama movie that you can watch and be pulled in and hurt for those who are going through it and root for those who come through in the end. So, our goal is to promote family values naturism, and particularly stop the argument that, well, Christianity and Christians can't be nudists. Christians can't be naturists. And, it's funny, we mentioned in the film our website. Look, I did a Bible study on this 25 years ago that 10 years ago we turned into a website called nakedandunashamed.org. And that was the Bible study that we did. And there are examples throughout the Old and New Testament of prophets and Levites and priests. And King David danced before the Lord naked when he brought in the Ark of the Covenant. And his wife gave him a hard time about it. And so David doubled down and said, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to be more in your face with this. So it was one of those where we have just decided to not apologize for being biblical naturists. And we're hoping that we shake a little bit of the tree, wake some people up. People who are already naturists are going to love it. People who are already Christians are going to hate it. And but the middle ground there, those unsaved naturists, might end up learning a little bit about it too. So.
I want to mention that Jim and Kim, Jim's wife, they do a cameo in the film.
Well, not just a cameo, we're an extra. So we're an extra in the diner, we're an extra at the pool at Shangri-La, and we're in the film. So it was funny, Stefan, one of the things that when we first became naturists, we were asked to talk someone else out of being nudists. And I was like, as a pastor, I was like, okay. Went home, did a Bible study, and my wife and I were like, there's nothing in here that I can use to talk someone out of being a nudist. In fact, it's kind of the other way around. God intended for us to be naked. He created us that way. He said, don't be ashamed, etc., etc. So instead of talking them out of being naturist, my wife and I, the following week, decided to visit a naturist resort in Whitetail Resort in Ivor, Virginia. And so we went down there, and drove away, checked in, went over to the community room where the indoor pool was, the hot tub was and stuff, couldn't get out of the car, drove away. So the next weekend, we decided we'd get an overnight room. We checked into the room, undressed there, walked out on the porch and kind of looked around, and everything was normal, right? There's a fellow mowing his yard on a lawnmower. There's some teenagers playing basketball. There's a woman gardening in her garden. Some folks walking their dog. Everything was so normal. And so we went to the pool. We got to the pool, and there's only one couple in there, and their kids are swimming in the pool. They got a newborn baby. So we sit down, introduce ourselves, and I asked him, I said, look, this is our first time resort. I'm just trying to figure out what this is all about. Can you tell me what you do for a living? And he says, well, I'm an independent Baptist pastor. I'm an independent Baptist pastor. So when he said that, you could have pushed me over with a feather. I was like, God set me up. And so we ended up visiting for about an hour. Kim and I played that couple that we met in the movie. So Chris and Rachel played Jim and Kim. We played the other couple that we met the first time at a resort. And so it was pretty cool. And Lovely was able to kind of set the stage for that and did a great job as that. It was a lot of fun. So we played the first people that we ever met that were naturists.
So Jim,
I will say that it was cold that night when y'all were having to play naked, and I was not in the scene, but I was standing there with coats and clothes and blankets. As soon as Mark said cut, I went to Lovely and said, "Here, wrap this around yourself."
The desert gets cold in January. Yep.
Yeah, so I remember I still had like shorts on, and I had to like take them off, and everyone was like, "Hey, hurry up, Melody!" And that's the only time I've ever like jokingly like gotten mad at Chris. Was like, "I'm going as fast as I can, asshole." To you get the scene fucking done with because it was so cold.
You don't have to be a nudist or a naturist to have been challenged in theater, from what I've heard, with being uncomfortable with the true conditions. Jim, one thing, though, I'm going to say, because this is happening, people will say a Christian naturist movie, and they're going to roll their eyes and say, I don't want to be preached at, not going to watch it. Do you have to be interested in Christianity? Are you going to be preached at?
No, you will not be preached at. I think you'll be entertained. I think as part of the process, you'll be into the drama. You don't have to be a Christian to enjoy the film. In fact, I would say most of the folks that we've screened it to who have been that moment have not been Christians, and they've loved the film. Good.
So how are people going to watch it? Where should they look for it? It's not available anywhere yet, right?
Tim, I think it's coming out. Their plan is to roll it out in Europe first.
Right.
And then screen it here.
We are in what's called the deliverables stage. So we are doing all the behind the scenes tech work on it. Like, for example, there's something called chain of title, which is a pain in my butt. Depending on the distributor that you go with, there's different levels of responsibility that they push on the filmmaker. So, for example, there are some distributors that if you go with them, they make you sign a form that says if there's any legal obligation, then they are not responsible for it. And then that's how they get out of doing a lot of extra paperwork. Well, these people that we're working with do so much international sales that we have to cross every T and dot every I. And so, like, the fact that the movie is based on a real life man, they want to know what areas of his life are covered and not covered, and who might come and want to sue us because they're misrepresented in the movie. So I'm literally going through like 8 documents of BS, and it's not a ton of fun for me. Our post-production supervisor, Ben, political aspects and adding this and that, and we're actually going to author the Blu-rays and the DVDs so that as part of the deal that we have with them, we raised money for the film, and we promised people a Blu-ray or a DVD of the film. And so we can't tell those people that they're not going to get that. So our deal with the distributor is that we are allowed to sell Blu-rays and DVDs separate from the deal, and they can do their own that we'll get a cut of, but we can do our own. We are also allowed to do screenings at theaters. So something Jim and I have discussed doing, and any member of the team that wants to join us, we may do somewhat of a traveling roadshow, Stefan. Before the film rolls out on all the streams, Jim and I may four-wall some theaters, do screenings with Q&As, and be able to make a little shekels and get the word out. And it'll be exciting because people can't see it yet on streams, but this is a way to see it. So we're looking into places that we could do that as well. But yeah, we're in the process right now. We're deeply in the process of delivering everything. All the contracts have been signed. It's legit. It's just a matter of getting them the documentation. Like, for example, we have insurance on the movie, but we did not get errors and omissions insurance, which covers if there's a Pepsi can in the background, Pepsi can't sue you. And some distributors that you go with never ask you to get errors and omissions because they have you sign a document that if Pepsi ever sues, we get sued, not the distributor, so they don't care. And the truth is, Pepsi doesn't really care either, so nobody does it. Well, these guys require it, and that's $3,000. So these things start to add up in post-production where we're just like, come on. But for all that it's worth, we are doing everything that is required, and we are delivering it. I would say within a month, they will have everything they need, and then they will begin their rollout process, which is going to take, a few months of marketing and putting it on platforms and getting it accepted. And I'm sure they're going to be selling it to different, somebody in Poland who represents that region. Why should they pick up this film? That sort of conversation will begin.
So you got everybody excited about this movie now. What do you want to tell them? Like you've told them that you're working hard on it, but how do they keep up? Is there a website where you're gonna post where you can see it? You're gonna tell every country, it's available in England now on this streaming service. How are they gonna find out?
Well, MPX is going to do their own advertising and rollout, but we have a website, genesis225.org. That's a great hub to find out where things are going. And I'm sure we could involve a social media manager and all. It's just, nowadays it's a little exhausting, guys, isn't it? Like how many blankety blanket, streams and this and that, and it's hard to. And then being a nudist, I personally have been kicked off Twitter like 4 times. I've had 2 Instagram accounts taken down. I've been kicked off Facebook. It's like, I use this word and 2 years later that word's not allowed and now I'm kicked off. Or nudity or implied nudity, or can you show a butt? Can you not show a butt? A side boob, is that okay? Like it's very frustrating. So at the bare minimum, I would say if you go to our website, genesis225.org, and aside from that, it's going out to the world. So you will see it, and very shortly we'll be able to sell it on Blu-ray and DVD to anybody who wants a copy. And you may see Jim and I and Melody and Lovely and anybody who wants to join us at a theater near you on a big old tour, maybe.
So I know I've got Tim's phone number. I'll just put it on the show notes. You guys can call him if you want to know when the movie. No, just kidding. I'll put the website on the show notes, and people will go and take a look. So make sure you post it, because you're gonna. I get thousands, probably about 5,000 people will listen to this episode. So many of them will want to know where they can see it, and they're all over the world. So make sure you put it on the website.
Hey, Stefan. I read Reddit. I know you have listeners.
So, well, thank you, everybody. This has been really interesting. Really appreciate your time and everybody coming on today. That's didn't expect such a big crowd, but that's awesome.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And we had so many more that would have joined us.
Yeah. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. It was great to be on here.
All right. Have a good weekend, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Adios.
After this interview and this discussion, I had a chance to watch the movie. Tim sent me an advanced screener. They trusted me with that because the film hasn't been released yet. And I enjoyed watching the film. It was a good story. There's no question. It's a low budget film. In fact, it's amazing that it's as good as it is for the small budget they talked about having. The story is interesting. It's more complex than I expected. Absolutely has a strong Christian message in there. But as I said in the interview, that's not necessarily... you don't have to be a believer to find an interesting story there. And there are, of course, some inconsistencies because of the change of the sets and the locations where they were doing it. You can see some very big differences between some of the areas they're filming, which are clearly more California, and then Arizona when they had to escape the fires. I'm actually impressed by how good the sets and the locations they used are. It was for having no budget. They found good places that really look like they are in the places where they want to be and they should be for the story they're telling. The performances, some are really good. There's some very good actors. Some are clearly amateurs, and the dialogue is a little bit wooden, shall we say, for a few people because they're reading lines or they're repeating lines they've memorized. But there's some very, very good performances and from some of the actors in there that are truly at the professional level. So I don't know yet when I'm recording this where it's available. As you heard, they're still working on their distribution deal. But if you go to their website for the show, which I'll put in the show notes, then you'll be able to keep up and find out where you can watch it yourself. So that'll be all once again for this episode of the Naturist Living Show. Thank you for listening. We always appreciate your support, both in supporting us with Patreon if you're doing that, but just for listening to the show and sharing it with others. My name again is Stéphane Deschênes, and I'm your host for this podcast and the owner of Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park. And the producer of the show is Jessica Williamson, who helps put it all together and gets it out by doing the producing, organizing, and the very time-consuming editing to put this show together. The Naturist Living Show's theme music is called The Day We Met by Mark Hodges. You can find links to all of the items I mentioned in the show notes on the website at naturistlivingshow.com. And that's where you can also find out what the links to the website for the movie, and therefore follow it if you want to watch it when it finally gets distributed. Please keep sending your comments as well. We appreciate getting them, and we read them all, even if we don't always have time to reply to everybody. The show's email address is contact@naturistlivingshow.com, and on the show website there's also links to places you can contact us. I hope you enjoy the show, and that you'll join us again for the next episode of the Naturist Living Show.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show was brought to you by Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park. Traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Traditional values means that naturism is more than just taking your clothes off. It is a life philosophy with physical, psychological, environmental, social, and moral benefits. Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park strives to promote those naturist values in a modern setting that provides the amenities and services that our members and visitors expect. Free your body, free your mind. Learn more at www.bearoaks.ca.
brimstone.